chnep.org. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our next presenter, DEP's Melinda Brown, Mindy Brown.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Melinda Brown with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection at the Charlotte Harbor Aquatic Preserves. And today I'm going to talk about our grant-funded project to remove derelict fishing gear from the artificial reefs in Charlotte Harbor. Next slide, please. All right, just a quick overview of my presentation. I'll tell you a little bit about what a Florida Aquatic Preserves are and where they're located, some of the marine debris issues that we face, as well as how the specific project tackled this marine debris issue and where we are today with the status of this project. Next slide, please. The Charlotte Harbor Aquatic Preserves are part of 4 million acres protected by DEP's Office of Resilience and Coastal Protection. Statewide, there are 41 aquatic preserves set aside by the Florida legislature to be maintained in their essentially natural condition for future generations to enjoy. And they're circled in red are the 5 aquatic preserves that are part of the Charlotte Harbor Aquatic Preserves estuarine complex. Next slide, please. So out of our office in Punta Gorda, we manage these 5 aquatic preserves that total over 177,000 acres of submerged lands and waters. Our management plan addresses 3 main areas to focus on, and a lot of our activities are guided by this management plan, which includes protection and enhancement of habitats and water quality, and we do this through our various monitoring programs, restoring areas to their natural condition, and encouraging sustainable use and stewardship by the public, as well as targeting specific user groups who boat and fish and recreate within the aquatic preserves. We coordinate citizen scientists for our various monitoring programs and partner with various local entities to accomplish our goals in our management plan. We really couldn't conduct all of our monitoring and management plan or management
Melinda, are you on the line? Now you're muted. Can you unmute yourself? Mindy, can you unmute yourself? There you go.
All right, I'm back. It just started raining where I'm at, so I think my internet went out for a little bit. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries, keep
next
going.
slide, please. Okay, I don't know where I cut out, but let's move on to the next slide. All right, hopefully everybody can still hear me. The use of our estuarine waters and its resources goes back a couple of thousand years ago to the Clusan Native Americans. Can you go back to the other slide previously? Yes, thank you. Currently, it is a very popular recreational and commercial fishing area. In 2019, more than 9 million pounds of fish and shellfish were commercially harvested from Charlotte and Lee counties and has an estimated value of more than $18 million. And the economic impact of recreational fishing throughout the state of Florida is worth over $9 billion, according to FWC. And a lot of these fishing activities occur along natural mangrove shorelines, as well as other man-made structures, such as docks, piers, and artificial reefs. Okay, next slide, please. Artificial reefs are man-made structures that were placed in waters to serve as habitat and fish attractors. Florida has one of the most active artificial reef programs among the 15 Gulf and Atlantic states. And since the 1940s, more than 3,000 of these artificial reefs have been placed in state and federal waters within Florida. We have 4 artificial reefs within our aquatic preserve boundaries here on the map. You can see Old Tire Reef to the north in purple, Charlotte Harbor Reef in green, which is one of the largest reefs, about a mile long. And this is constructed of concrete modules, bridge beams, and reef balls. We have Cape Hayes Reef there in orange in the middle of Charlotte Harbor, which is made of concrete structures, and Danger Reef in yellow, which is a 40-foot tug on its side. A lot of these structures were placed in the mid to late 1990s with additions in the early 2000s. And these are all in relatively shallow waters between 10 to 15 feet deep, and they're well marked, which makes them very accessible to local fishermen, but unfortunately have also become hotspots for the accumulation of marine debris, such as fishing poles, lines, anchors, nets, lures, and tackles. Next slide, please. Of course, marine debris is a global issue that can impact and damage habitats, entangle wildlife, and cause other issues such as when sea turtles can ingest plastic items such as plastic bags. And plastics can last thousands of years in the environment, which can continue to impact wildlife and habitats. Examples of these can include monofilament fishing line and cast nets. And when these items degrade in the water, they can also create the issue of microplastics within the water column. In the US alone, at least 115 species of marine mammals, sea turtles, seabirds, fish, and invertebrates are affected by marine debris. And 75% of fishery gear and wildlife interactions are from hook and line. So in order to address marine debris and its impacts, Florida's Wildlife Action Plan has conservation actions to support the cleanup of abandoned fishing gear. And the Florida Marine Debris Reduction Guidance Plan has 2 goals specifically related to reducing the amount of derelict fishing gear and its impacts. Next slide, please. The Charlotte Harbor Aquatic Preserves Management Plan specifically addresses cleanup on these artificial reefs, as well as education and outreach. Staff have personally noted netting on these reefs, as well as entangled animals there. You can see the stone crab entangled in monofilament fishing line. And seeing this animal really entangled in fishing line really got me to the point where I wanted to go ahead and try to clean up these.
I believe Melinda's microphone dropped again. We're going to go ahead and try and get her back on the line.
Apologize,
Okay.
I'm back.
There you are, Mindy. Go right ahead.
We must be getting a storm coming. All right, so we applied for the National Fish and Wildlife Fishing for Energy grant. Next slide, please. And we were one of the only recipients in Florida to receive this Fishing for Energy grant. There were others across the nation. And we also hosted the award announcement back in September. And here you can see a picture of our 7 project partners, which I will outline their roles in the upcoming slides. Next slide, please. The first part of this project includes assessing each reef with what kind of debris is there and the amount. And we have our Lee County volunteer scientific research dive team members going out to conduct the pre-removal as well as the post-removal monitoring in coordination with Scuba Quest, Charlotte County, and West Coast Inland Navigation District. Next slide, please. And the second phase of this project is the actual removal of the debris. by contracted divers with the Florida Marine Works and Fantasy Water Sports. And they will go out to each of these reefs, and as they remove the debris, they will document what kind and sort it by type, as well as get a weight. And all of this will be taken to Covanta to be turned into energy. Next slide, please. And then the final component of this project is education outreach, which is important in order to spread awareness of marine debris issues and its threat to wildlife. We would like local boaters, fishermen, and visitors to help prevent fishing gear from entering the water. And we will do this with the development of a video of all of these different processes throughout this project. And Pelican Media will be helping us with this, with underwater footage, as well as drone aerial pictures. We will use this video to attend outreach events, present to specific user groups, and we'll post it on social media and websites, as well as the removal data itself. And Lee County is helping with this effort as well. Next slide, please. So this is where we're at today. All the pre-removal monitoring has been completed at the 4 artificial reefs by the volunteer divers. We had a total of 122 volunteer hours for 6 diving days from December to March of this year. And they observed some anchors, some line, some nets, as you can see in that top photo, and various fish species utilizing these reefs, such as snapper, spadefish, snook, and sheep's head were common species. They did not observe any wildlife entanglement, which was great news. And this is a great group of divers. I really appreciate the effort that they took during these winter months and the colder temperatures with limited visibility. These are not easy areas to dive when you have 5 feet of limited visibility. Next slide, please. And this slide says removal efforts are underway. Actually, the removal efforts were complete a few days ago as of Friday, May 29th. So all of this debris is still being calculated. So we had a total of 11 removal days, and we are estimating the amount and type of each debris. But right now we are estimating we have about 300 anchors that were removed from all 4 reefs, about 20 nets, including cast nets, 20 fishing poles, hundreds of feet of fishing line, hundreds of feet of chain and rope, crab traps, bottles and cans, sheet metal, which you can see there in that picture, a chair, an umbrella base, and hundreds of hooks and tackle and lures. We estimate that this is about 3,000 pounds that were removed, which is great because our goal was 2,000 pounds, so we met and exceeded that. Next slide, please. And I wanted to show you some of the pictures of the removal efforts. This is on Charlotte's Reef. Again, this is the mile-long reef. And the divers conducted transects widthwise, and they accumulated the debris into lift bags. And there you can see on the barge, they're lifting all of these anchors and crab traps and line out of the water. On Charlotte's Reef, we found the most number of anchors here, as well as fishing line. Next slide, please. And these are additional pictures of the debris that was taken out. You can see the anchors and the line and the cast nets. And each of these pictures represent a 1-day haul of removal. And they did not report many wildlife entanglements. They did observe a few fish, such as a gag grouper that had hooks and lines dragging behind it. And one of the divers were able to reel in that fish underwater and remove some of that line. So that was great. Next slide, please. Now that the debris removal is complete, the volunteer divers will be going out again 1 month after the removal efforts, as well as 1 year afterwards to see the success of this removal project and to see 1 year later how much debris will accumulate again. The outreach video and the debris data will be posted to the websites, and we will continue our education outreach efforts. Next slide, please. So how can you help? Whether you're boating or fishing, avoid casting towards animals in the water to prevent entanglement. Recycle your fishing line and debris. You can recycle your line at these receptacles found at docks and piers and boat ramps. report any injured or entangled animals to FWC. And since we found so many anchors, if you are fishing at these artificial reefs, we ask that you please drift over or use your trolling motor. Avoid anchoring directly on these reefs, as you can most likely will be losing it. Next slide, please. And I know I'm running out of time, but I just wanted to leave these tips here on how you can protect the aquatic preserves. Even if you don't boat or fish in the aquatic preserves, everything you do within your lawn is within the watershed and can help with the aquatic preserves. So I'm out of time. Next slide, please. I would just like to acknowledge our funding partners, the NOAA Marine Debris Program, National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, Covanta, Schnitzer Steel, and all of our wonderful project partners. We could not have accomplished this project without you, and your dedication and enthusiasm is greatly appreciated. So with that, I will take questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mindy. And I know you had some technical difficulties. So go straight into questions. They're already coming in if you want to just answer as many as you can in the next 4 minutes.
Okay. Will results of what gear is collected be used to target industries and users to change designs or modify use? Yeah, so far it looks like a lot of the gear are anchors from recreational fishermen, fishing line, and cast nets as well. A lot of the cast nets were found on Danger Reef. So yeah, we definitely need to continue education outreach efforts to recreational fishermen and boaters, and let them know, you know, how to anchor properly and avoid throwing your cast net directly over these reefs, because it can become very easily entangled. Will there be ongoing cleanups? Yeah, that is a great question, and it's something I've been thinking a lot about. Now that the initial large haul of the removal has been complete, doing an ongoing regular, whether it's an annual cleanup, would be much easier to maintain these reefs from marine debris. So that is something I would like to continue discussions with our project partners, whether we can, as a group, do an annual cleanup, maybe get more volunteers to help. These are difficult sites to dive. As I said before, they have limited visibility, and so safety is a big concern. So can you still hear me?
Yes, we can. You have 2 more minutes. Go right ahead.
I think I'm back. Okay, I think I got cut off again. So yeah, volunteers can definitely help with the removal, and we'll be in touch as we discuss this further. Were there any types of particular debris associated with different types of reef? Again, a lot of the reefs are in similar depths within the aquatic preserves, between 10 and 15 feet. So many of the reefs still had anchors and fishing line. Again, there's more nets on Danger Reef. So maybe because that is an old boat that is deployed there, maybe that has particular structures that is entangling the nets there, but it doesn't seem to be a difference in depth. Will the video be presented at meetings or shared in other ways? Yeah, it will be on the Southwest Florida Artificial Reef website, on various social media, and we're hoping to get Lee County's school systems involved, as well as Susie Hassett is one of our volunteer divers, and she could be using this video as well. But yeah, stay tuned for that. We'll be sending it out perhaps through the NEP. I think that's all the time I have. Thank you very much, and sorry about the